I'm sitting here talking with Freddy, and basically the whole point of this show is appreciating your realtor, what they do for you, understanding all the intricacies that go into the process. You guys have no idea what we do.
You have to know who you're dealing with. You have to know what you're getting. So if you're dealing with a realtor, appreciate them. Learn your realtor.
I had a lady that called, her mom bought a condo in 1976. And she said to me, she goes, well, you know, I'm paying between taxes, insurance, and all this, right? And I'm thinking to myself, if you sell this condo and take the money and invest it and what it would bring back in an annuity, you can go rent an Airbnb and still have no cost expenses for the entire year. What can someone sell? You can sell something you believe in.
Right.
There's people that can sell ice to an Eskimo, whether they feel, but I can sell things I believe in, like selling ice to an Eskimo. But if I don't believe in it, I can't sell it.
The more successful lawyer you get, the more complicated it gets.
Yeah, the more money you have, the more problems you have.
Absolutely. The more money you make, the more it gets complicated.
Welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. With over 20 years of real estate experience and selling over 150 homes a year, Laura Sanders is the #1 RE/MAX agent in the state of Florida for 2021. Join us each week as we discuss how to make money through buying and flipping homes, to renting versus selling, and everything in between. To join the conversation, call in live 888-994-4995. Studio A.
Hi everyone, welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. Every week we talk about something that'll help you make a little money, save a little money, or maybe just help you navigate this crazy world that we live in. Today I'm here with Freddy, and we're going to talk about this crazy real estate world and appreciation for your realtor and what is involved with being a realtor. What does it mean to be a realtor? Freddy, most people think that we're used car salesmen or we're like lawyers, but I get paid better than most lawyers.
Well, the bottom line is that you do a whole lot more work than most lawyers because it's a never-ending experiment when you're doing real estate.
So last night, I left an appointment at 8:45 last night.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Who does that? And what time did you start your day?
I got up at 6. And
See,
I went
people don't understand that.
Yeah, I went and worked out. Otherwise, I'd be like 9 million pounds. So yeah, I went and worked out, left, got to the office at like 8:30, I think maybe a little bit before, I'm not sure, and started doing my day and getting things done. But when I got home, right around 9 o'clock, I started doing laundry. Probably did like 5 loads of laundry. But in my brain, I started thinking to myself when I got in the car, number one is at 8:45, I went through the Wendy's drive-thru and thinking to myself, well, there went my walk this morning. I did not have fries, I just had a hamburger. But, you know, my appointment was supposed to be at 6:45 last night because she works. She was running a little behind, so 7 o'clock, right? I left there at 8:45, I was with them for an hour and a half. I mean, they were like, oh, you're funny. And like, everybody tells me I'm funny. Ha, funny. And I thought to myself, I think you're nuts. But then today, like I'm back in, I'm going through stuff, I'm trying to train a new assistant. And even with an assistant, I feel like there's so many steps in the process. And one of the things I said to the assistant is I'm not here to collect properties, I'm here to sell them. And, you know, if you follow up after we've had a showing and ask feedback, and they say, well, you know, we're thinking about it, then you need to call back again.
Persistence.
And you have to tell me, like, hey, I called, this is what they said, because I'm very much involved in whatever goes on, you know, in my transaction. So I'm always calling, following up. What is it that we can do that would make, and I'll call the sellers, like I have a little condo, right? And it's not moving because I put it on Facebook and somebody reached out to me and then they looked at the budget and they said, no, they're not interested. So I called the seller and I said, I know we already reduced the price, but would you be willing to give maybe 6 months of maintenance to sweeten the pie, because they felt like the financials didn't look good. And that's a lot of what's going on. I had a lady that called, her mom bought a condo in 1976. 1976.
That's an icon condo.
And she said to me, she goes, well, I'm paying, between taxes, insurance, and all this, right? She goes, I'm paying probably like $12,000 a year. And I'm thinking to myself, if you sell this condo and take the money and invest it and what it would bring back in an annuity, you could go rent an Airbnb and still have no cost expenses for the entire year. And she's like, well, it was my mom. And she said, I'm just worried about, and I said, you're worrying about the wrong things. What you should be worrying about is what's coming up the pike. Full reserves. I know the building doesn't have any reserves. So it's really important, to work with somebody that knows all these things so that you can really understand, because to me, it's like Chinese. I mean, not to me, but for other people, it's like
Well, you describe
Chinese.
not just the job. You're describing everything that goes with it. Your late night meals. People don't understand the psychology behind eating that late,
Yeah.
behind putting in a full day. And it's not just showing properties and selling properties. It's being a psychiatrist, being a sociologist. It's actually fundamentally the deal so that it makes sense for the buyer, for the seller. Depends on what side of the equation you're on. But I can totally relate as a salesperson, the lack of appreciation, because everybody thinks you make it look easy.
Right.
And when you make it look easy, everybody thinks you don't work.
And I think I look like a hot mess most of the time. So I don't think it looks easy.
No, you make it look easy. And the funny thing is, and the proof to my argument is simple. Talk to your clients afterwards. How many of your clients will say, my gosh, you did an absolutely amazing job? How many will come back?
And some don't realize, like, they'll get upset about maybe there was a couple of bugs left in the place, right? Or something, and they don't realize all the other things you did. It's like, they're not your only client. Everybody wants to be your only client, right? But they're not your only client.
Correct. But you do a good job of giving each one that attention. Sometimes you can't have two clients on the same spot. So you're going to have to talk to one and put the other one on hold until you finish and then go to the next one.
Right.
But I've been to your birthday parties and I've seen the people that you deal with, and a lot of people there. And everybody says the same story about Laura. So, and sometimes in this game, the only time you take an applause is when you close something, and that applause will last maybe for an hour. Then you're on to the next.
Yeah,
and to the
even
next.
if that. And it's funny. It's like, a lot of people will call your phone, but they don't leave messages, they hang up. You have to leave a message or text me, and I'll tell you why. My favorite thing is, especially when there's people in my office, right? And I will answer, this is Laura, and then I'll hang up. This is Laura, and then I'll hang up. And it just keeps doing in the phone, right? And then the thing is when two people are calling simultaneously, you will never know that phone call came if they don't leave a message or they don't send a text saying, hey, I called you, can you call me back?
And they hold you responsible for that.
People are...
They'll say, you didn't
Email
return
is
my
a
phone
whole...
call.
Email, it's so bombarded with spam these days on top of, right, what is important, right? And believe it or not, what I think is weird is sometimes things will show up in spam that you've already seen those people before. And I'm like, how did that end up in spam now? It gets marked as spam. And it's like, you have to check your spam it's like, I think I need I think we need a checklist. We all need a checklist, right? It's like, check your emails, do this, do that.
The more successful, Laura, you get, the more complicated it gets.
Yeah, the more money you have, the more
The more
problems you have.
complicated it gets.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The more money you make, the more it gets complicated. And the funny thing is, you rely on your family to understand that what you're going through is an everyday process. I laugh sometimes because I see people who go to work 9 to 5.
I love that. I would love that.
I'm exhausted. Yeah, but in our field, we don't do that.
Right.
You wouldn't know what to do with yourself.
That's
on
what
a 9 to
everybody
5.
says. I think
You
I
won't.
do.
I tried it. It doesn't work. I tried it. It doesn't work because we're creatives. And it isn't just the hunt for the deal. It's how to make the deal work, how to complete it. And then you take into consideration the people that you're working with. And at the end, even though let's say you're representing this person and this side is doing something wrong, you're going to step up and you're going to help them. Because I know how you are. You bark, you fight and everything else, but at the end of the day, You want the deal to work.
Of course.
The amount of money and energy that you put into every deal. So, if you have a real estate person that you're working with, or you're working with Laura, buy them a cup of coffee once in a while and just stop, which this is never going to happen, and say, something, Laura, you're doing a good job. I want to thank you. It ain't going to happen, but it should happen. Because I was in your shoes at one time, man. But you do it better than even me, and I'll be the first to admit that. Because you're creative, you have ideas, and you are constantly on the move. So
I was thinking about creating a new business.
I'm sure you were.
So let's go to commercial break, and when we come back, I'll tell you about my new business
Let's do
idea.
that.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back. Check out our sponsors.
Whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, or building your dream home, you have a lot riding on your loan specialist. Max Fish, a top 1% mortgage loan officer in the nation, will give you a same-day qualifying quote. Max Fish is committed to providing his customers with mortgage services that exceed their expectations, ensuring that you make the right choice for you and your family is his ultimate goal. Contact Max Fish today at 954-729-6933 or max.fisch@nwmcorp.net.
At JK Closing Attorneys, we do all of the same things that a title company does, but with the benefits of being a law office. We can help with residential real estate, short sales, commercial real estate, refinances, 1031 exchanges, and FIRPTA withholding.
Contact JK Closing Attorneys today at 954-332-3111. Again, that is 954-332-3111.
You have been watching Making Money with Laura. For more information, contact Laura Sanders at 954-650-0827 or visit her website at thelaurazell.com. And now back to the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. So I'm sitting here talking with Freddy, and basically the whole point of this show is appreciating your realtor, what they do for you, understanding all the intricacies that go into the process. You guys have no idea what we do. Now, we're not all the same. I will say that.
True.
A lot of people are lazy in general, but
Cut a lot of corners.
Yes. So I was saying I have a new great idea that I would love to implement.
Okay.
So my idea that I would love to implement would be love it or list it.
Okay.
So a lot of people, they really don't love their home.
Okay.
But usually when I get done staging their home,
They don't want to sell it.
they really don't. They love it. But they're like, they feel committed to the process.
So even though after you stage it, they want to sell it, you get them to sell it?
Right. But I've had people say, I don't think I want to sell it now.
Well, maybe you should be in the staging business.
No, that's different. Because it's not just staging. It's doing little things to your home that just make you love it more. I'll give you an example of something that we did, and I probably should start showing people pictures and letting them go online to these things. But I had an older woman that I went in and they said, do you have any recommendations for us to do? And I said, I do, but I always like to know where you're at, what you would like to do. Right. Because I've always found that people get a little overwhelmed in the process. Okay. Or as the Canadians say, the process. They get a little, it overwhelms people and they don't want to be committed to it. And sometimes they feel that that's what I want and then they don't hire you because of that. So number one is you have to hire me before I tell you anything that you need to do in the process.
It's a good idea.
Okay. That's number one, because I think that my information is very valuable. But like, for instance, so I told them I would clean the floors and paint the grout, not just clean the floors, because that's a waste of money.
Regrout it.
No, you're not regrouting it. They actually paint the grout and it becomes non-porous and it's so clean looking. Oh my gosh. When they were done with the floors, now this lady's older, so she's definitely moving one way or another. But the kids looked at it, and the kids are like my age, They looked at it and they go, oh my God, what a difference. Like it was like phenomenal, the difference that it was.
Does she still want to sell?
She has to. She's in her 80s.
But does she want to?
Everybody just said, we should have done this before. Like we should have totally done this before,
Right.
right? So I just think it's funny how little things make such a big deal. And most people don't know where to go for these little things. So I just thought that would be a good little business to say, listen, you pay me if you don't want to sell it afterwards. But it's basically, I wouldn't call it love it or list. I'd call it love my home again.
But because you were telling me, I brought to you a piece of property that we were looking at the time to sell, and you said to me, just based on pictures I show you, changes that you would have made. I mean, just on pictures. So the more I think about it, the better the property looks. If you like it as the homeowner,
Other
if you
people
get
will.
me, then you got a sale here going.
Right. Well, that's the other thing, right? What can someone sell? You can sell something you believe in.
Right.
Right? You know, there's people that can sell ice to an Eskimo, whether they feel it, but I can sell things I believe in, like selling ice to an Eskimo. But if I don't believe in it, I can't sell it.
Well, you won't do it.
Yeah. So
You still can, but you won't.
I actually got a call from the flipper flop guy about maybe 2 years ago.
Flop guy.
Yeah, Turek. Yeah, he called me and he wanted me to sell solar.
Solar panels?
And he told me the commission I would make. Now imagine if you tell me that I could make between $4,000 and $5,000 selling this to my clients. That's a lot of money.
It is. Did you decide not to do it?
It's not a decision. It was I would not do that.
You don't. Okay. So
It
you don't
wasn't a
believe in
thought in my mind. I don't believe in it.
it? Okay.
You're paying like $40,000 to $50,000. You're paying over a 30-year time span on this. So do you think it's worth it to save maybe $50 or $75 a month?
Well, I never did solar, so I guess my answer would be I don't believe in any of it, because I know that there are other programs out there with the government where they'll install it for you and then you end up paying for it for the rest of your life or something. Who
Right, that's what I'm
knows?
saying. The install's free,
yeah.
but yet you're paying monthly for it. What's free? If I'm paying you something and I can't get out of it, right? And mind you, buyer beware, buyer beware, what is it, caveat emptor, beware that they tell you it's transferable over to the new buyer. However, they give it to you no matter what.
Right.
You could be like the worst investment and they're going to give it to you. You just need equity in your home. But the person buying it, the mortgage lender is going to require them to qualify for it.
Well, let me ask you a separate question on the same subject matter. My electric bill where I used to live was $400 to $600 a month.
Right?
Okay. And the reason was I had 3 air conditioners.
Right.
I had almost 5,000 square feet under air. And the problem was that those 3 air conditioners were not good.
Well, they weren't newer and they didn't have high SEER
That's
rating.
right. And I didn't know that at the time. So instead of doing the solar panel piece, what I should have done is I do the air condition piece and then watch my bills come down.
Right.
If I get it under 100.
Did you have impact windows?
I did not.
That's another thing.
That's another thing. But
And,
these are the things.
and impact windows, did you have, okay, so I totally believe in impact windows. However, I don't believe in getting it through some of those. You have to be very careful when they put it back into your taxes, because now you have to see you got to weigh your pros and cons.
Exactly.
And I help clients do that for free. Like once you're my customer for life. So I actually have customers that will call me and say, what do you think about this? I actually had a customer recently that did get the solar panels, didn't ask me. They're young. I was so consumed and concerned about when I sold their one property to buy the next that they actually had cash left in the bank just as a cushion.
But this is answering the question as to what a realtor can do for you besides just
If you have
selling property.
experience.
But this,
Right? You
but
can't
this
get
is
in
what
this.
it's all about.
Yeah, you can't get in this and then tomorrow be like, yep, I can provide you this information.
And
it's
you know
growing
that,
and learning.
And you know that after COVID, everybody who had a last name decided to become a realtor, right? I
Yep.
mean, you could throw a rock and hit 15 of them. But the bottom line here is they didn't have the experience. And you're not just buying a realtor, you're buying an investment. So if I'm selling the property and I want somebody who's going to give me that experience.
Yeah, just like I'm so used to doing my job and what's best for my clients. I was just telling you that I sent an offer over and didn't even put my commission in it. Like I was like, what was I thinking, right? Because I don't work all day Saturday for free, but I might.
But you know, the funny thing is when you add up the hours, the amount of hours and the amount of pay at the end of the day, you have to make a decision. Now, you've been doing this over 20 years, right? So you've obviously made the decision that this is where you're good at. This is what you like doing. It's like any other 9 to 5 is going to have its bumps and bruises. So I was on the C train in Manhattan. I just gotten off the plane. I was headed to the hotel because we took the path to the hotel. And there was this realtor lady from wherever, and she was in New York, and she met this guy who decided to give his seat up to her for her to sit.
Okay.
And he said to her, "You look like somebody I know. Are you a realtor?" And she says, "Yes." So she never sat down. I sat down. But she didn't want it. So I'm listening to the conversation, and apparently this guy is a somebody. Buys farms and properties, and he deals with all these actors and actresses that he was naming.
Oh, wow.
And all these deals are going. And I could sense it, that her eyes went this big, and she's like talking about how the seller doesn't have to pay me, is what she said in the conversation.
Okay.
And I guess she was representing a buyer or something. And he would be a buyer and a seller because he does both. He does trades every single week. He
Wow.
buys and sells. And this is to somebody. So she gives her card. No, she puts the phone number in her phone and says to her when he's leaving, when they're separating, he says, introduce me to all your friends.
He said that?
She said that to him.
Oh.
I don't know if I would have handled that way. I would have maybe invited him and his significant other, whatever the circumstances are, to dinner.
Right.
They had just met because she was on the plane.
But maybe she was trying to be funny. I mean, I would see myself saying that, like, hey, don't forget me. Send me all your friends.
But the point between I see how you do certain things and I see how she does certain things. And it just reminds me of in the day, you have to be sincere in the real estate game.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to be something you're not, at the end of the day. Now, he didn't run after her. He wasn't impressed by her. He didn't say,
But he gave his number.
No, she gave her number.
Ah.
He did not give his number because I watched the whole thing. So I said to myself, you lost that deal.
She should have said, hey, can I get your number?
She should have done something more elaborate.
Right.
Like when he got out, I would have said, I'm going to get out. I'm going to walk with you. I'd like to see where
well,
you work.
you're in New York and you got to get back on the train again.
Nah, man.
Maybe she's got an
not
appointment.
This. I don't care what she got. You're never going to meet another guy like that. I almost
How do you not know
talked to
he was a
him
BSer?
because he said his name and I looked it up.
We're going to
He's
have
not
to
a
look this
BSer.
out after the show. I want to know.
No, I'm not going to put that out there.
I know, but after the show, inquiring minds, we want to know.
But the funny thing is that the guy was a somebody. And here I am sitting in the seat that she should have been sitting at. And I think that the approach was he wanted her sitting there and have the conversation this way. And she stood up and had the conversation this way, which again, it's the little things. I just noticed that the body English had changed after all that. Because now he's
Really?
being approached by her. You know, whereas
Are you
when he
telling me
said
that I shouldn't approach men with my real estate?
Not at all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that in that instance, I can see the difference between you and her. And I would bet $1,000 that you would have handled it differently and this guy would have ended up calling you. I would have bet $1,000. And it's funny because I was with Linda and Linda was all the way at the other side and I went up to her and I told her about the whole conversation. And she looked at me and she says, you think Laura would have closed that deal? I says, I know she would have. But you have to know. You have to know who you're dealing with. You have to know what you're getting. So if you're dealing with a realtor, appreciate them. Learn your realtor. I had this conversation with you. I fired my first realtor.
Yeah, you said
And I
that.
brought in another one and I sat down with her. And her and I talked. And I says, I want you to know what I'm thinking about selling this property. And Laura, as God is my witness, it worked. And she still to today says, you know this game. You know people, is what she told me. I know people. And it worked. And I think that's what separates you, the men from the boys, is that you know this game. You know how real estate works with people. And that's when you win.
And the bottom line is, honestly, in the end, it's always about price.
It comes by
Price,
how you get
condition,
there.
location.
By how you get there.
Yeah, I don't start there.
I
go slowly so I don't lose $1.
That's the difference.
I don't
She
like to
went
lose
right
any
to
money.
the price, and she lost the deal. She closed it. This guy gets approached by 1,000 people a day to do what she does. So why was he going to pick her? And then she's trying to get,
Was she
she's trying to
hot?
act pretty. No, not at all. She wasn't. She tried to act pretty and yada, yada, yada. And she told him, I'm on the west side, which is the ritzy side and all that. And he says, well, I've got to go to my office in Midtown next to the gym that I own because I got to work out and then go back to my office. And then I got to take the helicopter.
He had to say the
JFK.
gym I owned.
Yeah.
Do we want to work with him?
Yes. Because I would have said, you know something, I'm going to join that gym today. Yes.
I would have gone back to the gym looking.
Let me put it to
He
you
gave
this
her
way.
no, but it sounds like to me he gave subtle hints.
He gave openings and she didn't close on them. I think she was more glass eye and open eye as to who she was talking to. And it happened by chance. It happened over a seat. And I said, if you ain't sitting, can you mind if I sit? And she said, no, go right ahead. And I think that's what blew it off for him. I think he wanted to have a conversation because on the
Or
trains.
was he just not giving his seat, just to be nice?
He gave his seat up. He said, would you like to sit? And she said, no, I'm okay. And that changed the whole complex. Well, you ain't sitting, I'm sitting.
Well, if you're thinking about selling or buying, then I'm definitely your girl, Laura Sanders, Remax Direct. Check me out on the web. My Google reviews say everything you need to know about me, unless there ends up being a bad one, because that could always happen, right?
Do an interview
jealous.
with Laura. Do an interview with Laura. Forget about everything else that you heard tonight. Do an interview with Laura and let her show you why. And that'll be the end of that. I guarantee you're going to be happy with it.
And thank you for listening to Making Money with Laura Sanders. And we are getting ready to celebrate 2 years of Making Money with Laura Sanders. We will be recording live on November 7th in the back of one of my Airbnbs. And it's going to be so much fun. So if you're interested in joining us, send me a message and I'll give you the deets.
Good stuff.
Have a great night.